Okay, so what type of business should you be getting into if you're a brand new solopreneurship business? And before I walk you through all of the different types and what is my recommended options, I want to go through the deep down psyche of why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I want to take you through the entire history of how the marketing game has evolved, especially on the side of business. And I'm going to show you exactly what are the segments that have lost money and what are the segments that have gained money, so that anytime that you're meeting with somebody and they say, oh, this is a saturated market, that is an obsolete market, you have the right kind of framing in your mind to understand and take the right decisions. So welcome to this video. My name is Dr. Rajat Sinha. I'm a medical doctor turned sales strategist, and one of the great things that has happened in my life is that I've been able to quit my corporate job, Silicon Valley profession, and been able to set up a solopreneurship, which I now operate entirely from home. And all of my employees, they actually work virtually, some of whom I have never met face to face or even on Zoom. And today this ecosystem is very, very prevalent. I would like to help you to get on this particular train and make the best of it, if that is something that is meant for you. All right, so let's get started. Now what I want to do is I want to quickly share with you some concepts going back all the way from the agrarian age to how markets have evolved. Because when you go to do business, a lot of people say, hey, if you do business in an area which you have your passion, then that is the best blessing. Some people say, hey, if you are going to work in an area where you have your passion, that is not a recipe for success, because that may not be the right industry to get into. So you need to be a little more business brained. So we have both of these points of view happening, and I want to streamline, rationalize all of these for you. For my part, I am really working in an area that is of my passion, but I truly had to understand the structuring of the business for many, many years before I was able to be successful. So I just want you to take the right decision, and definitely my hope for you is that you can work in an area of your passion and be super profitable as well. Okay, so let's get started. So basically, what is happening over here is that I'm just sharing over here the snapshot of the agricultural age. Now usually what happens was that mankind was in the hunter gatherer stage, and there were these tribes and they would fight over the actual patch of forest that they commanded. And then later, when about 20,000 years ago, the agricultural societies were formed, where there was a different set of people who would actually till the land, and there was a different set of people who would provide the protection, and they would do the organization so that tribes don't fight among each other. And there was some sort of administration that started happening in human civilization. That is when the agricultural age started, and then humans stopped living in these jungle tribes fighting with each other, and there was a very high mortality rate at that time. Okay, so mortality rate suddenly went down because humans organized themselves into agri societies, and there were different kingdoms, and the kings would kind of deal among themselves and make sure that there was peace and calm. And then majority of the workforce was actually involved in agriculture, which is growing food from the land, so that they didn't have to wait upon the seasons, they didn't have to go out hunting. And once that whole food from the land was domesticated, basically when land was domesticated, so to say, then there was a huge growth in world population, there was a huge reduction in mortality rate. And you know, since then, we whatever we know of mankind is since that time. Okay, all of the great civilizations, the development of writing and the printing press and languages, and all of these civilizations, they started growing since that time. Okay, so this was the agricultural age. Now what happened after this was that we come to the next age, which is called the industrial age. Now the industrial age came when metallurgy and chemical kind of engineering started, and people started becoming a little more educated, and people started figuring out how to build factories where workers could actually work, and then these factories would actually produce a lot of the stuff that mankind needed. So at this point, there was a division of labor where there were some people who were factory workers, some people who were actually doing farming, and then there was the other people who were doing organizing, who were the governments and the prime ministers, and the kings were still there at this time. Okay, and a lot of different professions like doctors, lawyers, chartered accountants, all of these guys started coming up at that time, because this was the age of education. Okay, so this was the industrial age. The next age we come to is the next notable age we come to is the computer age, or the information age, which started in the 80s and 90s. And now you will find there was another profession where you had a lot of people who had essentially to work with computers directly or indirectly, and that by itself today is like a whole industry in itself. And even in India, I think the total contribution of this industry is roughly about, say, 17% of the GDP. So it's a significant contributor, and for certain states like California in the US, it is a big driver of their whole economy. So we got the information age. Then we come to a period where there was an information overload age. Okay, this was an age of social media and smartphones, and this was part of the information age. But you will see over here that in addition to people being super excited about having information and things like that, there were some negative effects of technology also that started coming in, with people being more distracted and not being there's a lot of situation of people not being in emotional control of themselves because they're constantly hooked on to these mobiles and things like that. Okay, so you've got the information overload age, or I call it the cusp. And then we are basically coming to the point where we are going to be reaching the top of this particular pyramid, which is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what Maslow's hierarchy of needs says, that what we have been tracking in human civilization is we had the physiological needs like food, water, warmth, and rest, which we conquered as soon as we became an agrarian society. And then once we became an industrialized society, then what happened was there was a lot of division of labor. So what's happening is, in addition to people going to work and getting survival salary and things like that, there was this whole segment of society which started thinking about love and belonging and self-esteem. So if you see during the later part of the industrial age, when mankind actually evolved further, so it was everybody doesn't need to grow food anymore. Everybody doesn't need to work in a factory anymore to produce the knickknacks that people need. There was a large segment of society which started thinking and writing, and there was a lot of burst of belongingness and self-esteem, and all of this is captured in the age of Renaissance that we call it. And you will see that during this time, especially after in the late 1900s, actually the Renaissance started slightly earlier, but in the 1900s, especially after World War II, you will see there was a huge identification. There was a huge recognition of human needs of self-esteem, of love, belonging, and things like that. So there's a lot of focus on parenting. Are you raising your kids right? There's a lot of equality that has happened. You see, in certain countries, the black people are not equal to the white people, but now all of that has changed. You have all the races of the world are pretty much equal. Whichever country of the world they go to, they are treated equal. Okay, and then you have, even if you see on the LGBTQ side, a lot of those guys didn't have the equivalent rights, and today almost in every country they have equivalent rights, and they have representation and recognition. Okay, so now what has happened is, towards the end of the digital age, or the so-called information age, we are still in the information age, but now it has kind of gone into the AI age. And what is going to happen is that there is a huge segment that is going to break off, and that is going to be the self-actualization segment. That means everybody doesn't need to be working with computers. Everybody doesn't need to be working inside the AI industry. A lot of people will have you believe that AI is going to be everything. No, AI is going to become very, very hyper-focused, and there's going to be a huge new segment of people that's going to break off, and they're going to found what is called the self-actualization industry. And the self-actualization industry has to do with human needs beyond survival, beyond belonging, and it has to do with achieving the highest source, or achieving the highest potential that you're born with as a human being. Okay, this age is marked by a lot of inner thinking, deeper work, and questions like, why am I here? What is my life going to mean to be? What am I meant to do on this planet, other than just producing a little bit of economic benefit and earning from it or something like that. Okay, and this age of Aquarius, or humanitarianism, and then you have the age of basically achieving one's human potential and self-actualization. This is the particular age that I feel, if you're watching this video, you should aim your solopreneurship business into, because the potential is humongous. The potential is immense. I mean, think about somebody who did computer engineering towards the second half of the 1980s. They would just have the world at their disposal. And if you see a lot of rich people in India, like Narayan Murthy, Azim Premji, all of these guys had founded their businesses at that time, and now they are the richy rich of India. And even in America, if you see a lot of people who started at that time, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, etc., people are coming into the 80s with computer tech skills, were really taking it to the next level. Today, also in the AI age, you see people who entered the AI age at the right time. They have been able to get very, very successful in a short period of time. So if you're going with the waves, then definitely you're going to be doing very well in business. Now, just in case you're not one of those AI geeks, if you're somebody like me who's not a computer genius, who technology is not, I just use technology as a tool. I'm not very tech oriented, not very tech literate, and AI for the most part to me is like rocket science. Okay, so if you're like me, then I would like to bring your attention, and you should be building your solopreneurship business in the age of self-actualization. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. This roots have already started, and I personally have already tasted the success, so I know there's a big future. Now, before we go ahead, I'd just like to quickly share with you that, remember, in financial evolution, once the agrarian age had started, the hunter and gatherer became poor. Okay, once the agrarian age had started, then there is no point being in the hunter gatherer age. You're going to become poorer. Okay, once the industrial age had started, the age of production, remember, the farmer became poor. Today, if you're tilling the land or something like that, if you have a patch of land, you're trying to grow some agricultural produce, there's not a whole lot of profit on it, and there is a lot of drudgery. Okay, there is a lot of drudgery. You should watch this particular show, which is called Clarkson's Farm. I think it's on Amazon, where this particular British fellow, he bought huge tracts of land. He was a very rich guy, and he bought huge tracts of land, and he started and tried to do farming on a profitable basis, and he would make on acres and acres and acres and acres of his farmland, he's making like $800 a year in net profits, and it's like not enough. Okay, so that's why you have a lot of tax breaks given to farmers and things like that, because in the age of production, the farmer became poorer. Later came the age of technology, and if in the age of technology, that means if in the early 2000s or something like that, you were going for becoming an employee or becoming a professional, let us say you're trying to become a doctor, lawyer, chartered accountant, you would not do quite as well as somebody who's in the technology industry, growing in the industry, or taking the advantage to go abroad and earn from Silicon Valley or something like that. Okay, in fact, just my own story is like that. I actually quit my medical profession to go and make my fortune in Silicon Valley, and in spite of not having any MBA degree or anything like that, like the returns from Silicon Valley were like 10x of that would have got me just working in the medical industry over here. Okay, very simple. So if you are in the wrong age, if you got your feet in the wrong quadrant, then you're going to become poor. This is a big risk. So selecting the right quadrant is more important than your actual skill sets and how hard you work. Definitely you should build skill sets and work very hard, but selecting the right quadrant, very important. Okay, now when it comes to the age of actualization, what does that mean? Do we all have to become like yogis and go to the Himalayas and start meditating? No, that's not the case. Human beings are looking to better themselves, and if you can act as a conduit to improve human beings in that area to better themselves, self-actualization is the age, then you are going to be go very far if you can get ahead on this game. Okay, there are four big markets, and these four markets are the first thing is human beings want to improve themselves on the money scale. So if you're providing services or education on the money front, even if it could be very basic, then also you're going to be gaining a lot over here. Second, if you're providing any kind of information, education, or products and services in the health and wellness industry, which is how human beings can take care of themselves and not go to the hospital, you're going to do very well over here. Next, a lot of people are wondering about how to be better at love, life, and relationships. And if you are going to be doing any work over here, it's going to be amazing. Okay, and most importantly also is micro skilling. So I call it entertainment and skill development. So micro skilling, a lot of people want to improve themselves on the right brain hemisphere front, which is they want to develop themselves in art, music, gaming. Especially in India, like it was all left brain developed, which is, hey man, you got to do well in your studies, you got to go for a job, you got to build a big career, do a business, become financially successful. So in India, people have been primarily left brain focused, and that's created a disbalance. There's not a lot of career options for people who are in the art side, people who are in the music side and things like that. It's very tough, very competitive, and there are not a lot of career options. But a lot of that is changing today. You see a lot of clubs are hosting these stand-up comedians and things like that. We have a lot more art galleries, people selling art online or creating art online. So you got a lot of expansion in these areas, and these are the four big evergreen markets which are going to be working in in the human side, which is going to be in your self-actualization side. So you got money, health and wellness. Health and wellness, not the hospital kind of health and wellness, but people taking care of their own health so that they can live a long and fulfilling life. And a lot of this has to do with consuming less and just streamlining yourself with regard to diet and exercise, and just getting more in touch with your inner body, getting in touch with your roots and things like that. Okay, you've got better relationships, how to be a better parent, better pet parent, how to be a better neighbor, how to be a better citizen. You got dating, parenting, couples, how to be a better spouse, yes, and tribe building, how to be better with in teams, how to be a better team player and things like that. Okay, and then you've got micro skilling. Micro skilling could even be with regard to, let's say, AI. Even if you're somebody who's teaching other people how to get better using AI, that is amazing, man. That is awesome. So it's about having, it's not to do with more of production or technology, not a human machine interface, but a human to human interface where you're adding value to their life so that they can self kind of they can self actualize themselves to a different degree. Okay, in my case also, I have grown up like that because my mentor asked me, hey man, that's fine, why are you in the medical science? And I said, well, I believe doctors are very successful people, so I came to medical science. He said, what do you mean by successful? I said, well, they make a lot of money and they're financially comfortable. And he said, okay, why don't you start learning about finance and money, and that will open up an area in your brain where you'll automatically be more financially comfortable. And I said, well, what kind of degree do I need? And he said, you don't need any degree. You just need that area of your brain to be developed, and it will automatically attract abundance. And I said, well, don't I need to work in order to earn money? He said, no, you will be able to do things in a very not in a way that the industry has visualized, but you're going to take care of yourself fine. And that's exactly what happened, and that's how I was able to get financially abundant in spite of not having any MBA degree or anything like that in the business domain. And one step led to another, and now I'm sitting in front of you teaching you sales strategy and solopreneurship. Okay, so this is a very, very big market. I've spent over 20 years over here, and I can tell you that it's going to grow at least for the next 100 years unfettered. The world of AI and the world of technology may undergo changes from here to there, and whatever we have seen is people who are good at one thing, even if you're good at AI and things like that, career is usually finishing at about 40 years of age. Okay, the career is finishing at 40 years of age. So what is the thing that you can do that keeps you relevant forever, even if you live to be 100 years? And that is to be good at the self-actualization market. Any one of the markets is good for you. Okay, I have chosen the money market, although my professional degrees in the medical side. Okay, but I have chosen to be in the money quadrant, and you can choose any of these quadrants. Now, what happens if you say, hey man, I'm a corporate consultant, I'm in the B2B side, how does this matter to me? Okay, so once again, you're very much like me. I've been a product strategist in Silicon Valley for my company and for my clients, and then I turned over into the self-actualization side. And to be honest, like, my core expertise remains the same, and I've been able to generate way more money in this industry than I was generating in my corporate job at Silicon Valley. Okay. Okay, so how you want to tweak it is, I just want to open up these quadrants over here just so that you can understand very well. So I've got two of the shaded areas. One is the green, which is the B2C area, and the blue area is the B2B area. So B2C area is something that I already told you. You got the money side, you got the health quadrant, you got love, life, relationships quadrant, and and definitely you have the skill building quadrant. But the big three quadrants are money, health, and love, life, relationships. In the B2B area, you have only one quadrant, which is money. That means if you are in the B2B area, actually the quadrant that you are in for self-actualization is money. You're presenting to a company that's beside the point. The company could be a big company, it could be a small company, it could even be a solopreneurship. You could be a small business owner supplying your products and services to other business owners. That's also fine. Okay, but your area is money. Okay, there is only one quadrant in B2B, and that is money. A company or a business owner only wants to know one thing: how can you save me money? How can you make me money? How can you help me multiply the money I already have? That's the only three things a business owner or any company wants to know about. So if you're in B2B, you are in the money quadrant. Now your pitch or your positioning could be very, very nuanced, which means you could say, hey, I increase your competitiveness, which means more money. I streamline your processes, which means more money. I increase your throughput time, which means more money. I help you to scale, which means more money. Or I help you to offload your risk, which means more money. Okay, in every single scenario it basically means more money for the company. And if you do not have a money pitch, if you do not clearly translate what it is that you do in the B2B scenario, it has to be very clearly translated into money, then you're good to go. Okay, in my industry also, although I'm a sales strategist and all of that, a lot of people, top tier players from commission selling industry who have crores and crores of revenue under their belt, they come to me for business restructuring. And very simply, I have to give them a money plan. If you work with me, this is the money that's going to result. And I literally have to show them on an Excel sheet what is the amount of money, net gain, financial gain they're going to make in 12 months working with me. And that's how they take those decisions. So I definitely have a B2B arm also. And the B2B arm is deadly simple. It's all money. That's it. Okay, so so if you're presenting to a business, you got to have it very, very clear. How much money do they make? How much do they save based on their operations? You should have some models that you can show to your clients, and that goes very, very well. Okay, so with that, I hope I've made it clear what are the different quadrants that you can work in, and what are the business areas that are going to do very well in the next few years. Of course, if you're somebody who's already working with cutting edge technology, if you're already working with blockchain, if you're already working with AI or anything like that, man, you don't need this advice. Like, you're already in the hottest area, and at least for the next few years, if you're going to be growing with those industries, you're going to be in the right place, no question about it. I'm just talking about all of the people who right now may be feeling that they need to quit and do something on their own, something that is more fulfilling, or somebody whose career has abruptly ended at 40 years of age or something. Then these are the markets you should be looking at. So I hope this video was of value. Please let me know in the comments what else you would like to know, and definitely in my next video is going to be about how to structure these businesses. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See you. Bye bye.